Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. We are going to do a couple of short little quick labs today. Now, these two quick labs, Cloud Skills Boost labs, I will learn this one day. So these two are playing with the machine learning and generative AI capabilities up in Google Cloud. Again, these technologies are always kind of changing from day to day, it seems, so these may not exist next year. Just fair warning. Um, Especially with generative AI, this tends to change from day to day to day, right? So the first one we're going to look at is the speech to text API. So this is a pretty common thing to do in a lot of public cloud platforms. AWS has similar capabilities where we are taking a sound file with speech and translating it and transcribing it to text. There are other things out there you can use to translate. Google Translate being very popular. So we're going to do this one. This is a very, very simple thing where essentially we are calling an API. Here is an audio file. Please transcribe it for me and give me, the text and how confident you are that that is correct. Then we're also going to have a little fun with an AI image generator using Vertex AI. So this is the lowest possible tier of something like a DALL-E or a Midjourney, essentially. Don't expect a lot of great results out of this. It's a very lightweight model behind it. So let's start with the speech-to-text API. So it's only 1 credit, so not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and resize here a touch. So open private console here, move you this way. Thank you. All right, so we're going to log in. Both of these have a lot of copy and pasting going on as a forewarning. So again, if you kind of want to get a feel for exactly what's going on, highly recommend you type stuff out just to help with the muscle memory. But again, can't necessarily expect that. Okay, so everything's hidden that we care about. So let's make this a touch bigger so that we actually can see stuff in here. Okay, so we first need to create an API key with this one, I believe. So yeah. Now the API key, if you recall, is going to allow us to access an external service with a unique key for ourselves. So we want to go to credentials here. We're going to create an API key. So create credentials, API key. Then we get a hex string that should be generated, which in theory should be unique to us. So big long string. This will identify us when we talk to the speech to text API. All right, and I've got that. It's up there, which is good. Okay, so we have our API key. Cool. We also need the Cloud Shell open, which I forgot to pop open. Okay. All right, so we also need to pop over to, we don't need the Cloud Console. My apologies. I'm conflating this with another lab. We need to go to a pre-baked virtual machine, which to me seems like kind of an odd choice for this particular lab, since we could just probably do this all in the Cloud Shell. Unless if they've got some special stuff set up in here. All right, but we are in. We've got our standard environments here, and I'm going to go ahead and type export API key equals our key. Prefer to echo API key. There's our string. Cool. So we have this in an environment variable, which we can reuse over and over and over again while the session exists. All right, so we need to create a request.json file. So essentially what we're doing is communicating with the speech-to-text API, and it's going to follow this JSON packet. So we're sending it a configuration and an audio file. So the config is that it's going to be in US English, and the encoder for the audio file will be in FLAC format, which if you are an audio file, I'm pretty sure this is still the preferred format. It tends to be bigger, but it should be lossless and the best possible quality. And then the audio file here is pointing to a storage bucket. So they have an example for this brooklyn.flac file. Actually, I've got it loaded up here.
How old is the Brooklyn Bridge?
Okay, very, very tricky thing there. Do we have an easy link to that? No, we don't. Yeah, I was wondering if I could play with this storage bucket, but they kind of have obfuscated the URL there, so won't mess around with that too much. All right, without chatting too much, so request.json. Okay, I'm gonna drop that in there. Okay, easy enough. I've got my request.json file. Hooray. Should be good. Peace. That is taking a long time. No, you need to make sure this is done. I'm not going to wait for it. It's probably just stuck for some reason. Okay, so next we have the entirety of the rest of the lab. Okay, so we are going to do a curl request. Oh, I finally finished. Good. To the speech.googleapis.com API. And what we've got in here is that we are sending a JSON packet. So it's this request.json file there to Google Speech to text, and we're sending it our API key as well. And I'm just going to copy and paste this for brevity, but I recommend you type this in just for that muscle memory again. Okay. And then we get our results. So we sent our packet to Google Cloud, easy enough. And it came back, how old is the Brooklyn Bridge? Confidence, 93%. Not too bad of confidence. There is, again, not a lot of chatter or noise in this file, so honestly, not too bad. And that should be pretty much it. Now, what we could do if we wanted to, now we have to do the result thing too. Okay, so this last curl command here basically does the same thing, except it redirects the results to another JSON file. So in case we wanted to analyze this later on, we could do that. And very, very quickly, if I were to, this cat results, cat, I can type, promise. So here is the result file that we see, pretty similar to here, a little, no, it took the same time as well. Confidence is slightly higher now, actually. 9307521. Yeah, slightly higher, but not by much. Okay, that's it. So essentially, just kind of put a pin in this lab. We are not doing anything crazy ourselves, but we are calling a pre-baked model to do some parsing for us. So the speech to text API is one of the pre-trained models that Google provides. It's one of those types of machine learning models where you don't have to do anything. They have done all the training for you. This is where you don't necessarily care about the model or advancing it or anything like that. You just want a quick result. Okay, and all we really did, honestly, was this curl command here, right? So talking to the thing. It used to be that you could interact with this through a web browser. I don't know if that's still the case. I'm not going to really dig around into Google right now, but at one point in time, you could just raw upload a file and they would parse it out for you as well. Okay, so that's it. Easy enough. End lab. Thank you. I am not satisfied. Okay, so one done. Now, the second quick lab that we were getting, CloudSkillsBoost lab that we were getting through here is to build an AI image generator. So we went from kind of the most basic machine learning usage to generative adversarial network type of thing. I assume it's again, it could just be a generative AI kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure. But it's using Vertex AI, which is the essential replacement for the Google's AI environment that they had before. I'm drawing a blank on what it was now. AI. AI platform. Sorry, it's getting late here. AI platform was their environment. It is being deprecated, or it already has been. At one point, you could go to their web page for it, and it would give you a big bar that said this has been deprecated. Anyway, let's build an AI image generator. Now, this one is actually slightly interesting. I mean, they're all interesting, right? But this one pops open a VS Code environment instead of doing a sandboxed Google Cloud environment. So we just have pure VS Code here. All right. So what this one is going to do is give us a lot of code to copy and paste. Now, if you are a Python person, you should feel right at home here. But essentially, we have a pre-made environment that has the Vertex AI Python package installed. Fairly certain you can install this through some of the Google Cloud tools out there. But we basically get a function for generating an image. Now what it does is it initializes Vertex AI with the required parameters that they need, and it's using a pre-trained model for image generation. I would expect this would be the kind of thing where you could bring your own models in if you were the type of person that was into that. What do we phrase that? But essentially generate some images for me based on this input text, right? Let's go ahead and file new, drop this text in there, and they wanted us to save it as generate image.py. Name generate image.py. Make sure I name it correctly so that the completion doesn't complain at me. Okay. And then what it's going to do, so we'll play with the default for a second here, and then we'll tweak this a bit. So create an image of a cricket ground in the heart of Los Angeles. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is that if you're going through and doing this, I would recommend you do it, just kind of play with it because it's fun. They're calling this system level Python. This is because the packages they've installed in this sandbox environment is going to be tied to this one. Last time I did this, if you just call Python by itself, it's not going to work. So just to make my life easier, I'm just going to type it in verbatim, Python 3, and then I'm in the correct directory, so I'm going to leave off the folders. Okay. This doesn't take very long typically. And honestly, that's it for the lab, so we can play here for a couple of minutes. It's 12 minutes into the lab. Sorry, the video's taking longer than I thought. All right, so cricket in Los Angeles, lovely. Okay, now let's tweak this a bit. So it's not a Vim environment, is it? Okay, so nothing there. So let's comment this out. Prompt equals create an image of a bunch of super excited students watching a video on the cloud and generative AI. One of them should be bored and watching a Twitch stream instead. Okay, save, run, see what we get. I haven't run this prompt yet, so we'll see what happens. Okay. Not bad. Kind of hits the mark. The text is all wonky. We've got, don't know what's going on there. Okay. Apparently a watermark down there. His feet are smoking, cool. And nobody's watching Twitch. Maybe that's a screen tablet that he's watching something on, possibly, he or she, I guess. All right, so again, the model is not great, but it's something fun that you can play with. And again, if this is something that you could get, fairly good at, you can train your own models and bring them in here if you wanted to as well. If you were to, say, upload the trained model up into Google Cloud. Generate an image of a sad Red Wings fan because the Wings have lost yet again. I was watching the Red Wings earlier and they are absolutely getting decimated. So this is me right now, assuming it pops up. Barbu. Perfect. At least it's red and white. I mean, it's, All right. Took longer than I thought, just to probably over-explain things, but a couple of fun little labs that you can try out if you want to play with the most basic form of machine learning to a more advanced pre-trained model using generative AI. All right, have a lovely day. See you next time. Bye, everybody.